It began quietly, almost too quietly for anyone to notice. A press release buried in state-run media, a handful of technical papers trickling through international journals. Data from the Chang'e 5 mission, China's most ambitious lunar sample return, quietly uploaded, quietly analyzed. But beneath the layers of numbers and mineralogical terms, behind the controlled language and diplomatic phrasing, a truth began to emerge. Something had changed, because buried in that data, locked in tiny grains of lunar soil, was a signal. Not noise, not anomaly. A signal. Something we hadn't seen before. Not just fragments of ancient rock, not just volcanic glass, but something alive with potential. Something that could power cities, rewrite economies, reshape geopolitics. Helium-3, the rare isotope we once believed was science fiction, an energy source cleaner than nuclear, more powerful than fossil fuel, and hidden in vast quantities beneath the moon's barren surface. And China had found it. Not theorized, not predicted. Found. Held in their hands, wrapped in lunar dust, carried back to Earth by a robotic arm and a silver capsule. A future that once existed only in physics textbooks was suddenly real. And that was just the beginning. Because something else came back in that capsule, something that changed everything we thought we knew about the moon. Water. Not ice locked in craters hidden in permanent shadow. Not trace vapors from ancient impacts, but water embedded in tiny glass beads, spheres forged by heat, scattered by time, and formed from the hydrogen of the solar wind. Water where there should be none. Water in regions bathed in sunlight. Water in amounts that, if extracted and scaled, could fuel rockets, sustain habitats, and keep astronauts alive. The moon, long believed to be a dry, airless desert, wasn't what we thought. It never had been. But here's the part no one saw coming. These discoveries didn't happen in some distant future. They didn't come from a joint mission or an international partnership. They came from a nation acting alone, methodically, silently, purposefully. China didn't just land on the moon. They studied it, sampled it, dug into it, and brought back secrets we didn't even know to look for. And now, for the first time since the Apollo missions ended, the moon is no longer a neutral place. It's no longer a question of when we'll return. It's a question of who gets there first and stays. Because here's what no one wants to say out loud. Whoever controls the moon's resources controls the future. And China is already laying claim. The Chang'e missions have been moving like chess pieces, each one building on the last. The first soft landing on the moon's far side, the first plant grown beyond Earth, the first samples from regions untouched for billions of years. Now, with helium-3 and widespread water confirmed, the mission has shifted. It's no longer exploration. It's extraction, infrastructure, outposts, processing facilities, permanent bases. This isn't about planting flags anymore. It's about establishing supply chains, about building something that doesn't come back to Earth because it doesn't need to. And as the West debates budgets and timelines, China moves, silently, relentlessly. One probe, one lander, one mission at a time. What they've discovered changes everything, not just about the moon, but about us, about where we stand in a world that suddenly has two major space powers, not one, because now we know the truth. The moon isn't empty. It's full of answers we've only just begun to understand, and someone is already writing the next chapter. For decades, the moon was silent, not just in sound, but in meaning. After the dust settled from Apollo's final footsteps, it became a symbol more than a destination, a memory of what humanity could do, not what it would do. But something shifted in the silence. While the world looked elsewhere, at Mars, at space tourism, at politics and profit, China was watching the moon. And more than that, They were listening. The Chang'e missions weren't just a flex of technological power, they were reconnaissance. Each lander, each rover, sent to sniff out secrets, drill into mysteries, and map the very veins of a world we thought we knew. And what they found shook everything. It wasn't just helium-3 or scattered water. It was the terrifying scale of it. In tiny spheres of lunar glass, born from micrometeoroid impacts and fused in alien heat, scientists found water locked inside, not just on the surface, not exposed by chance, but chemically bound within the beads. Evidence that solar wind itself had been transforming the moon's crust, grain by grain, for millions of years. These beads were everywhere, in every scoop of soil, billions of them, and inside each one, water. Enough, some estimates say, to equal billions of tons of usable liquid spread across the upper layers of the moon's crust, not trapped in the frigid, unlit craters of the poles, not limited to one narrow band of terrain, but everywhere. It was like finding an underground river where we thought there was only dust. And for those watching closely, the implications were immediate. If water was this widespread, then a lunar base no longer needed to huddle in the shadows of polar craters. It could thrive almost anywhere. Mining, extracting, fueling, living. It could stay. But here's where the fear begins. Because this isn't a science problem anymore. It's a power problem. Water isn't just life support, it's propulsion. Break it apart and you get hydrogen and oxygen, rocket fuel. Combine it with helium-3, and you're looking at the future of clean, almost limitless fusion energy. Suddenly, the moon isn't just a satellite. It's a launch pad, a gas station, a fortress. And China, slowly, carefully, is building the infrastructure to make that future theirs. They're not shouting about it. They're not holding press conferences or inviting the world. They're doing something far more dangerous. They're preparing. The International Lunar Research Station ILRS. May sound like a collaboration, but its design, its goals, its pace tell a different story. A base near the moon's south pole, a power station, extraction systems, and soon, human habitation. This isn't science fiction anymore. These aren't blueprints in a drawer. The timeline is real, and it's accelerating. Chang'e 7 will launch within just a few years, aimed directly at the shadowed craters of the South Pole. With it, a hopping lander designed to explore dark regions where no sunlight ever touches, and where ice waits in the cold. Then, Chang'e 8, a mission not just to look, but to test how lunar resources can be used directly. A prototype for living off the land, for building, breathing, and launching without ever calling Earth. One mission at a time, the vision sharpens. Not exploration, not even colonization, occupation, a sustainable, self-sufficient presence on another world, built not in decades, but in years. One that doesn't need resupply, one that can refuel rockets, power cities, support crews, and never leave. And here's what no one wants to admit. If China builds it first, they set the rules, not just on the moon, but in space itself. That's why the warnings have begun to echo louder than before. From NASA, from military leaders, from governments who once believed space was a shared frontier, not a territory to be claimed. But the fear isn't that China is going. The fear is that no one else is ready. When NASA Administrator Bill Nelson sat before Congress in 2024, his words were cold, clear, and without the usual veil of diplomacy. Yes, he said, we're in a space race. But this wasn't like the last one. It's not about planting flags or beating a rival to a finish line. This time, the race has no end, no medal, no triumphant moment broadcast around the world. This race is about control. Control of resources, control of fuel, control of launch points and orbits, of the rules, the skies, and eventually, the future. And the moon, it's the prize, because whoever builds first owns the future. That's not just metaphor, that's strategy. In the 1800s, Britain's navy ruled the seas, and by doing so wrote the rules of trade, war, and diplomacy for a century. The same pattern is unfolding above us. The moon is the new maritime frontier, and the nation that plants roots first, the one with the tools, the fuel, the infrastructure, it becomes the gatekeeper of deep space. The Artemis program is America's answer, but it's already delayed over budget and politically fragile. Missions slip by years, funding ebbs and flows. Every setback gives time and silence for China to move forward. But this isn't about catching up anymore, because China isn't racing, it's building. Each Chang'e mission is part of a larger architecture, a staircase to permanence. First, far-side landings, then automated sample returns, then experiments with resource extraction, then testing long-duration systems, and now preparation for a base. No spectacle, no live-stream drama, just quiet, relentless progress. And here's what the Apollo missions missed, what we didn't realize until too late. They explored only a tiny strip of the moon's geography, always on the near side, always at equatorial latitudes, like studying Earth by walking a narrow stretch between Miami and Dallas, and calling it understood. The far side, the poles, the deep craters and ancient impact basins, completely untouched, until now. Chang'e 4 was the first to land on the far side. Chang'e 5 returned samples from volcanic plains Apollo never touched. Chang'e 6 has just brought back the first materials from the far side in human history. And the difference is startling. The moon's far side is older, thicker, richer in untouched material. Its crust reveals mantle layers. Its craters hint at cosmic impacts never seen from Earth. Its soil holds secrets that could redefine what we know about planetary formation, early solar system violence, even Earth itself. This isn't just scientific wonder, it's leverage. Because whoever holds the far side and its resources holds more than just territory. They hold data, position, secrecy, power. A base there isn't visible from Earth. Communications are relayed through satellites. Activities, scientific, industrial, or strategic, happen without prying eyes. For the first time in history, one nation could operate on another world in total autonomy beyond Earth's surveillance. And if that base begins fueling its own missions, if it produces oxygen, water, and hydrogen fuel on site, if helium-3 fusion becomes reality, then Earth isn't the center of gravity anymore. The moon is. And all of this, every fear, every shift in focus, every panicked statement from world leaders, comes down to this core truth. The moon is not just a stepping stone, it's a frontier, one that divides past from future, hesitation from dominance, Earth from everything beyond it. And China isn't knocking at the door. They're already inside. Closing words. We once believed the moon was a dead world, a ghost of rock and dust, orbiting in silence. But today that silence is gone, replaced by signals, data streams, and the hum of machines that drill, scan, and dig deeper every day. China's discoveries have pulled back the curtain. The moon is awake, alive with potential, and fiercely contested. Because in space, as on Earth, there are no prizes for second place. Thanks for watching. If this episode left you with more questions than answers, then you're ready for what's coming next. Click the video on your screen to keep exploring the future before it arrives.